Hello and welcome to the 16th podcast of Soulful Thoughts from Ireland, coming to you from Sligo in the northwest of Ireland. During these summer months, every 2 weeks, I am weaving new soul stories, reflecting on the times we are currently living in, and on this grand pilgrimage of life and death that we are all on. Today, the portal of sound. I spent 10 wonderful years living in Melbourne, Australia, in my mid-20s to my mid-30s. It was a deeply creative and mystical time, where I laid the foundation of my contemplative practice by hanging out with all of the monastic orders around town. The Carmelites, the Cistercians, the Franciscans, and the Jesuits. I did the rounds and found such deep intimacy of heart living behind these walls, which, by the way, were wide open for any true seeker of mystic love. At the same time, I was attending university as a mature-age student, reveling in the studies of the many faith traditions, forging the way for the birthing of a Jungian studies department, and communing with some very leftist professors who were gazing into the wisdom of the stars and opening the explorative journey through shamanic drumming. What a great time it was! All of this led me to a wonderful woman who was offering classes in body-voice studies. And so the journey into the body and the world of sound and healing began. She was a serious teacher. That is, commitment was expected. And I was a serious Capricorn student. And so began my 4 to 5 hour daily explorations into the body and the voice. One evening, while watching a movie with my housemates, a very sudden and acute pain assailed my foot and my ankle. It was unbelievably intense. I think I turned white because one of my roommates took one look at me and asked if I needed an ambulance. I said, "No, but please take me to my room." So he put me on his back and piggybacked me down the stairs and laid me on my bed. Once there, I instinctively began sounding into the pain, and I sang and brought forth all manner of sounds, and I kept sounding and singing until 20 minutes later, the pain had completely vanished. My housemate, who was secretly keeping vigil outside my door, said later that I sounded like an Aboriginal Edith Piaf. What an accolade. And indeed, shortly after that, I was invited to the Northern Territory in Australia, where I spent time with the Aboriginal Warlpiri tribe. These Aboriginal women living here inherently knew the power of sound, with both its magical and healing qualities. The grandmothers came to me and nodded their approval at my gift with sound, saying, "You know, girl, you know the way." And this they proclaimed just by looking at me. I knew the way, they said. Did I? The only way I knew was to follow the sound that was coming through me. Yes, I now know that is the way, but at that time I still needed to learn this at a deeper level. Moving back to New Zealand a little while later, I reconnected with some of the local Maori people. None that I had known before, yet they called me by my name when they met me. The Maoris are great seers. They see into your soul and who you are. While participating in a sacred ritual being led by others, I felt this surging of power coming through me. Everyone stopped and turned to me. They felt it too. And then one of them said, "Come on, let it out." And so I opened my mouth, and the sound that came forth was astonishingly powerful. When it was complete, they all nodded sagely and said, "Good, it is now complete." They all knew what was going on, but quite frankly, I had no idea. They began to speak of me being part of an indigenous matrix and that I would travel to the United States and carry it there. Carry what? Where? I had indeed been called to the United States and was going to be leaving shortly thereafter, but they didn't know this. But of course, they did know it. They know things beneath the everyday. They know really what is going on. Before leaving New Zealand for the United States, I was invited to a Sufi center, and the same thing happened. We were outside, gathered in prayer. I felt drawn to stand on a rock, and the same surging of power came upon me. Not wanting to disrupt the prayer, I kept quiet. But the elder woman stopped, looked intently at me, and said, "What are you waiting for?" I opened my mouth, and out the sound came. She later said, "You have the ability to open portals to the other realms with your voice. Use it." And ever since, there have been numerous instances of that occurring, whether on a greater cosmic level or on a very personal level for myself and others. Though there have been times, I must admit, when I have held back in group settings again, as I did not want to disrupt what was going on. How long will we deny ourselves, making all sorts of excuses? And how did our spiritual gatherings become so precious that we do not feel the freedom to participate as the Spirit guides us to? When the sound travels through your body and is asking to be sung, it is asking for cosmic life and magic to flow through you. It is so very different from when we deliberately make the sound. That is our own doing with a small and limited energy. But when our energy joins with the cosmic energy, that is when the heavens and the earth open. I recently visited a stone circle here in Ireland that is close by. As soon as I entered the circle, I began to weep. I knew I was standing with my ancestors. I spent time with each stone, each gifting me its presence and energy. I had bought an offering and kept wanting to make this offering, but for some reason it felt like it was not the thing to do. Leaning against one of the stones, my vision was directed to this little pathway of daisies up a gentle slope. I knew I needed to be at the top of that rise. So I tenderly walked up through the daisy path, and every part of my being came into a deep knowing when I was standing there. A knowing of this place, and a knowing that I needed to sing. I was taken by complete surprise when I opened my mouth and out came a chant to Kuan Yin, the Buddhist mother of great tenderness, compassion, and peace. How strange to be singing this here on Celtic land. Yet it felt like this prayer of tenderness and peace and compassion was needing to be spread out upon the world. When that was complete, another chant came to my lips. And this one was a Gnostic chant for the woman of light. She who births humanity and keeps us safe from the darkness that would seek to extinguish our light. Again, something most needed at this time. And finally, a circle song that celebrates the full cycle of life. The origins of this song are attributed to a Native American, yet also sounding very much like a Celtic folk or Wiccan tune. I sang and then danced down the slope back into the stone circle, and sang and danced as I was aware of my ancestors playing all manner of Celtic instruments and dancing and singing with me. Again, I wept. Tears of reunion. And it became clear. It is my songs, my sounds, that are the offering that is needed. And so, as I visit different places I am guided to, I sing whatever chant comes to mind. A chant to the mother at a holy well. Chants of the feminine and masculine joining on a sacred mountain. Or sometimes a repeated mantra in the form of a song. Sound is the portal to many dimensions. I have seen souls pass through to the other side with song and sound opening the way. I have seen deep emotional healings take place. And of course, we all know the pure joy that song opens us into. The Irish know the magic of music. They know what it is like to be transported deep into their sorrow and deep into their joy. They know the Shea, the fairy folk, will transport your soul with one note of their voice or music making. Our souls come into a fuller dimensionality aliveness when we enter the threshold between the worlds. It is no secret. It is available for anyone who wants to avail themselves of this wisdom. It is right here within us. May in these times your own voice be free to sound, to sing, to offer, to mourn, to grieve, to embrace all that is flowing through you. This is deeply healing. And you might just find yourself in a sacred circle with your ancestors, or singing with the Shay, or reaching deep into another dimension of your own sacred being. And know, the most sacred sound is the sound that comes from the very depths of your heart, the very depths of your feeling. No words or tune is needed. Just your voice and your heart. Beginning in September, I will be offering private sessions for anyone wanting to explore their own voice or their own healing. Please see my website, meghandawn.life, for more details. And in October, a new online course, Living and Loving the Unknown. How appropriate for our times, right? So see the website events for details on that, but please know that the dates and times may change for this, because I thought I would be in the United States for the duration of this course, but at this point that is not a surety at all. Living and loving into the unknown. I will give updates as soon as I know. So may you all be blessed with tenderness and peace, safety and love, healing and well-being. And tune in for the next session, as I'm going to be speaking on my recent visit to my great-great-grandmother's birthplace. A deeply emotional time, a deeply time of being rooted. So do subscribe and join me for that as well. Happy sounding. Shlan.